So how can we use invisibility in hypnotic change work? Hi there, this is James Tripp. This is a video for Hypnosis Without Trance. We are looking specifically at the use of the hypnotic phenomenon of invisibility in hypnotic change work. So I'm just going to do a quick cut in here to say this video is sponsored by Clean Language for Hypnotists, the bootleg tapes. These are out this week. You can find out about that by just clicking the link. Now, before I get into this specific phenomena, I just want to nod to the fact that there is a sort of debate out there in the world of hypnotherapy and transformative hypnosis as to whether phenomena work even has a place. There's a whole bunch of people out there that say you don't need to be able to elicit hypnotic phenomena in order to get effective results in change work. I heartily agree. You do not need to be able to do so. But if you can, it offers you a whole range of tools that you can use creatively. And also the skill in being able to do that is extremely useful, because it's the same skill bringing someone into a specific experience like a hand stick or something like that as it is to be able to shift and move their states generally, which is what we need. In order to do effective transformative hypnosis, we need to be good at helping people profoundly shift their states, but also shift their ways of seeing and ways of being. This is what, so far as I'm concerned, transformative hypnosis is all about. Now, what we want to look at here is how specifically we can use the phenomenon of invisibility. By the way, the pro-phenomena school with regard to hypnotic change work, the most commonly suggested reason for them being useful is that they act as convincers. Hypnotic phenomena act as convincers. Well, you know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. For myself, I'm not a big fan of trying to convince people of anything. I think trying to convince people of stuff is weak. I think, yes, you can use hypnotic phenomena in order to show people something about what's possible for them and their mind. I think that's slightly stronger. But the strongest place to use hypnotic phenomena is in genuinely creative ways that aid the processes. Maybe utilizing phenomena as transformative metaphors in and of themselves. Maybe using them to create high impact experiences that code in mind shifts. You see, because high impact experience codes in mind shifts much more powerfully than a simple suggestion might. So there's that way. But what I want to look at right here is invisibility specifically, and one specific way that I find useful to use it. Now, people who know my work will know of the influence of David Grove and the system Clean Language that was modeled from David Grove. I use Clean Language specifically as a hypnotist in a very hypnotic way. What I mean by that is I'm looking to evoke stuff from people that they can vividly, profoundly, and psychoactively engage with. And there's a real strength in using Clean Language, because there's a whole bunch of people that might not respond well. I had a client the other day, he said, oh, you know, I can't do all of that Richard Bandler stuff where you move things around and all of that. You know, I'm not very good at visualizing, he said. Moments in, and he's profoundly psychoactively engaged, hypnotically engaged, but it was because it was material drawn from him. This is one of the advantages of Clean Language. This is why I use a Clean Language influenced approach a lot of the time with clients. But there can be a barrier. There can be a barrier. I've often said that people always engage vividly with that which emerges from them, because it is fundamentally and inherently meaningful to them. It has come from them because it is meaningful to them. So I've often said they always do, but there is a circumstance that can really get in the way, and it is the circumstance of interpersonal interaction, interpersonal rapport. Now, what I mean by this is when we are evoking stuff from a client, we want them to get in rapport with their own experience and their own material, so to speak. We do not want them to be in rapport with us as the operator. So one of the single biggest barriers, and I often teach this when I'm teaching facilitation skills, is, you know, this goes for all manner of NLP processes. you might be facilitating a perceptual position shift, and the client keeps looking at you, and they're looking at you in the eye, they're making eye contact, they're looking for approval from you, and this means that there's a whole load of interpersonal contamination coming in, their neediness around social connections and all of this kind of stuff. So basically, when I'm facilitating people working with profoundly with their own material, getting deeply into connection with their own stuff, I don't want the connection with me interfering. I want to get me out of the picture. Now, there are two simple ways to do this when working cleanly with hypnosis. One of them is just simply to keep people's eyes closed. When their eyes are closed, they're not going to be thinking about you, they're going to hear your voice, but they're not going to be distracted by eye contact and looking for non-verbal cues of approval from you and all of this. Their eyes are closed, so that's no big deal. By the way, this is one of the big strengths of eyes closed hypnosis, eyes closed change work, because it immediately deals with that problem. However, if you facilitate somebody around their own experience, what you find is they spatially code stuff around them. And when their eyes are closed, it takes their awareness inward. But a lot of their everyday spatial coding actually is happening in the space around them, unconsciously, but in the space around them. And if you take their eye, if you have them close their eyes, it takes them out of that psychoactive space, the extended psychoactive space. So what I want to be able to do is have them work in the extended psychoactive space, the space around them, without me being a part of that in that moment. So you can probably see where I'm headed with this. This is where eliciting invisibility or negative hallucination is incredibly effective and incredibly useful. Now, you might be thinking at this point, but James, that's a pretty high level phenomenon. It's what's classically called a very deep trance phenomena, although depth of trance hasn't got much to do with it. So not everybody's going to be able to do invisibility. Well, this is where you may well be mistaken. The thing that stops most clients doing invisibility is their idea about what it should be. Right here, I'm going to suggest a comparison with a condition of the brain caused by brain damage called meaning blindness. When somebody, you get a particular lesion of the brain that creates meaning blindness. This means people can see things, but their brain cannot really latch onto it in any meaningful way, so it essentially gets ignored. So a classic example of this is you might have somebody with meaning blindness, and it's going to be in one hemisphere, and they've got a pizza in front of them, and they're hungry, and they'll eat half the pizza, and they might still be hungry, but they won't eat the half of the pizza that is sort of sitting in the visual field of the hemisphere that has meaning blindness. Why? It's not because they cannot see it, it's because it doesn't mean anything. They're not making sense of it. The brain isn't able to get a hold of it. It sort of slips through the fingers. Now, a lot of the time when you're working, if you go out, you do street hypnosis or you do invisibility with people, if you check in, you get feedback afterwards and you ask for honest, unbiased feedback, you often hear things like, well, I could kind of see you, but it's like my brain wouldn't let me see you, or it's like half my brain could see you, but the other half couldn't. You get these kind of fudge zone things where people are desperately trying to explain a weird experience. It wasn't necessarily pure invisibility. By the way, sometimes you will get the report, some people say, no, I just couldn't see you. But a lot of the time you get this sort of halfway area. Now, this is all we need for doing change work where you want to get out of somebody's psychoactive space. So if you've got their eyes closed and you're giving the suggestion, and by the way, I'm going to do this when I've worked my way up the hypnotic ladder. For people familiar with the Hypnosis Mastery Program material, you'll know about the hypnotic ladder. It's working your way up there. So I'm not going to dive straight in. I've already got hypnotic responsiveness going on. And let's say their eyes are closed. I'm going to say in a moment, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes. And before you do, just allow your mind, connect deeply with that part of yourself that can make this happen. Just allow your mind to create me as invisible. Allow your mind to create me as invisible. So when you open your eyes, it's as if I am not there. Just create me as invisible, either completely invisible or invisible enough that I can just not be here. And you will continue to hear my voice. Go ahead, open your eyes, creating me as just not here. So if I do this, then I've disappeared out to space. This sets up the conditions for me to start eliciting from them the material, the deep, personally meaningful material that we're going to work with that's going to end up organized in the psychoactive space. So this is, by the way, if you're not familiar with clean language, this is a very fundamental function of it. And as I may have put an insert in at the beginning, this video is sponsored by the Clean Language for Hypnotists bootleg tapes, which are out at the moment, so there'll be a link around here. So that will help make sense of that. But I've talked about clean language in enough other places that if you follow this video blog, you will probably know a little bit about it, and maybe you've got some training already. So people are going to be organizing things in this psychoactive space around them, and you don't want to be a part of that organization. You want to be a part from it, and this is an area where personally I find invisibility a very useful hypnotic phenomenon. Okay, if you like this video, if it makes sense to you, you will be rewarded karmically by clicking like on it. And also, when you subscribe, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you hit that notifications bell if you actually want to get things in the future. If you have any questions about this, please make use of the comment section below. Please ask your questions. And I have a question for you. What is your favorite hypnotic phenomenon to use in a Changework session, if you do Changework, if you have that as part of your repertoire of what you do? Okay, I'm going to put a couple of other bits around here because I'm talking about hypnosis. I've got Hypnosis Skills Bootcamp training coming up in Las Vegas at the end of August. I'm also in Toronto a little towards the end of September, so I'll put the dates for that in the section below, in the About section. And until we next continue our conversation, take very good care of yourself.